Hello and namaste to everybody. Today's guest on this podcast is somebody that I personally look up to, whose journey has inspired so many people in the mountaineering community, Naila Kiani. She is a mountaineer from Pakistan who is currently residing in Dubai. She has successfully climbed 10 8,000 meter mountains in a very short time of 2 to 3 years, and she is a mother of 2 daughters. And her journey, her story just proves this one thing, that if you want to do something, if you are dedicated enough, there is always a way to balance out whatever responsibilities and dreams that you have in your life. And in this podcast, we spoke about her incredible experiences that she has had in climbing these 10 8,000 meter mountains successfully, how she is able to manage the family life, the responsibility of a mother and of a wife, and her incredible dreams of climbing mountains. We spoke about the Shishapangma tragedy that happened in 2023 autumn, where we lost 4 of our beloved members of the climbing community. Naila was there on that day when the avalanche happened. If you are somebody who is aspiring to climb mountains, or if you are climbing mountains, or whatever Everest that you might have in your life, Naila's journey, Naila's approach towards life and her mindset is something that will definitely put a positive shift in your mindset and in your life. Without much further delay, here is the conversation I had with Naila Kiani. Enjoy. Hello and namaste Naila, how are you?
नमस्ते, बिल्कुल ठीक. आप कैसे हैं?
I saw you are very caught up, you are very busy, you are a hard person to get a hold of. What's going on in life right now?
Yeah, apologies. I didn't mean to.
No.
Basically, for people who don't know me, I have 2 small girls. One is 3 years old, one is 4. So I have a family. I'm working on a business, and obviously I had a really busy year this year with climbing. And then I worked with a few organizations. I'm the ambassador, NGOs and charities. So I just have so many things going on. But the reason I'm basically, I won't say, actually, let me say it. I am struggling with managing everything, because I just literally, last month I came back from my last expedition. So I'm trying to organize. So it's all new for me. So it's not my, it's not a routine for me. So I'm trying to organize my life little bit better when I'm down from the mountains, when I'm not in the mountains.
I have been following you since a couple of years. The way you've grown, the way you've achieved these amazing feats in mountaineering, you've climbed 10 of the 8,000 meter mountains. I know that whoever goes through this journey has so much to share, so many experiences, so many learnings. And I'm very happy to be speaking here. So just want to understand, you are doing so many things. So, okay, what do you do for work? Let's start from there. I want to know.
So I left my banking career very recently. So I worked in engineering, and then I moved into banking, and then I left my banking job just before my K2 expedition last year. And it was temporary move. I wanted to move. I thought I'll go to climb and come back and then start something else. But after K2, my plan changed. All of a sudden, I started, climbing one mountain after the other. So I was on a career break, but I started working on my own business. So I want to work for myself now, because it'll give me flexibility. First, I have 2 children, and also with my sport, with climbing activity. So it'll give me flexibility. Obviously, it'll still be hard work, but at least I'll be flexible.
Awesome. And how did you start climbing? What was that introduction to mountains in your life?
So I loved mountains since I was a child. So, if somebody asked me beach or mountain, beach near mountains. So a beach where I could see mountains. But if I had to pick one, if somebody put a gun on my head, I'd pick mountains. So I basically, I don't know if you know, I didn't want a big wedding, as we Asians, we have massive weddings, 500 to 1,000 people, or even more for some people. Once I had my Islamic marriage, I decided to celebrate it in the mountains and have a wedding photo shoot. So that's when I did my K2 base camp track, and that was my very first base camp
Which
track.
year was
and
this?
2018, so 5 years ago or so. So yeah, that was my first time in the mountains when I wasn't, there to, in a resort or in a hotel relaxing. I was like proper adventure in the mountain, and that inspired me. But I didn't think that time when I was trekking, when I saw K2, I didn't think I'll come back to climb all these peaks. And I never thought that within such a short period of time after that, I would have climbed all of those peaks that I saw in 2018. I mean, even when I was in Skardu, our expedition, trekking expedition, me and my husband actually at one point canceled it because he returned. So I had my wedding photo shoot, or so-called celebration, without him because he had a family emergency. So we both canceled it. Then the girls who were in our trekking group, they said, no, just come, you can see K2, you can take some pictures. And my husband also convinced me to go alone because he said, once you have kids, you will not see K2 again. You will not come back because, that's what we do. That's what Asian or, once you have kids, nobody thinks about having these adventure. And then also when we were on the way to K2, then it was my first time in high altitude. I mean, 5,000 is quite a lot for somebody who never trekked. So we didn't know whether we'll get there or not. What if we have altitude sickness? And also whether a lot of everybody, whoever we met on that trek, they were coming back. They said they didn't see K2 because it was cloudy, it was snowing. So we had no idea. So many points in those 7 days or so, we thought we'll not see K2. We thought we were to see K2, very happy. But the whole journey was very emotional for me because my husband wasn't there. So I was crying every day.
I mean, I'm just thinking to have a husband or a wife as supportive as yours, like especially when you have kids. I mean, I can't even imagine because I'm not a father yet. And after that, the whole priorities of my life has completely changed, as in my risk taking appetite has gone down. And I climbed all these mountains when I was 20, in my from 20 to 25, 26 tak I was full in doing winter expeditions on 7,000-meter mountains and a lot of crazy things because I had no fear. I knew bad things can happen, but it used to not stop me. But now as I'm 27, 28, thoda risk taking appetite kam ho gaya, engagement ho gayi hai, so now I know I have more responsibilities beyond myself. And to have a partner such as yours who is as supportive when you have kids, to be able to be okay and support the wife to go on such expeditions. So how is the dynamics at home? Because it's so beautiful to have this kind of support system back home.
So even I, when I came back, I never thought I'd go back to mountains because, even personally, I thought it's not something I'm supposed to do. And then when I started planning to climb a mountain, it wasn't something that society expected. And obviously there was this element of guilt for myself, but also guilt of fear of being judged. Because I knew that there'll be people who will be like, what kind of mother are you? So there were a lot of negative emotions also, but also there was, if I think about the positive side, it was something over time after I came back from K2 trek, I knew that I wanted to try this. And then I struggled a lot because there was passion on one side, but there was this worry, fear. So I somehow had to overcome the fear and kept going and basically kept going ahead with planning the expedition. And then for 2 years or so, 2018, and then I planned to climb the mountain 2020. COVID came and then I had to cancel my trek. So I planned Amadablam in 2020. That got cancelled. And then I thought, I'm from Pakistan. We have these amazing mountains, and why not attempt an 8,000 meter? At that time, I wasn't doing it for records or anything because I didn't even know whether I could reach the top. And my friends who were mountaineering, they were suggesting to me, don't do 8,000 meter. Everybody actually told me, don't do 8,000 meter because there's 50% chance of making it. Now, obviously, in the last 2 years, the whole mountaineering sports, everything's changed. So there's a lot more success cases. But when I was planning it, obviously that time it wasn't like this. So I was told there's 50% of chance, 50% chance that you can make it. So they told me to climb Spantic, which is a trekking peak, 7,000 meter, easier to climb, obviously. So and they said if you climb it, if you reach the top and you take Pakistan's flag, then you'll have a feeling of achievement, a sense of achievement. If you reach 7,000 on 8,000 meter peak, can't climb it, then you won't feel that. And I was very clear. I don't care about reaching the top. I just want to experience climbing. And the reason 8,000, because I knew the elite mountaineer, professional mountaineers will be there. So I wanted to experience what they go through. I wanted to spend time with them.
Wow.
So I was very clear that even if I reach 7,000 meter, I'll be happy. And for me, it was one off. And my husband thought it's one off. So because for 2 years, I was basically speaking to him about mountains. So he thought, okay, once he does one mountain, then he won't talk. So he basically agreed. And when I canceled my first expedition, he was very happy. Then I continued. So basically after I had my first daughter, and mentally, to be honest, I was not ready also. I just kept planning, but I was hoping, I was like, oh, how can I cancel it? Because I'm not ready. It's my first baby and I cannot leave her. But my, wo jo bolte hain na, dimag ka keeda, wo stop nahi hua. Then I continued to plan. I planned a higher peak, and then after so it worked out well because I planned another baby. So wo ho gaya. And then I planned Gashabrum 2 expedition in 2021. So I don't know how we started. Can you remind me if I'm on the right track?
You are.
Sometimes I keep going and I lose track of what. So first one happened, and then second one, my guide who was with me on Gashabrum 2, when I managed to climb it, he encouraged me to climb K2. I wouldn't have very openly said that I want to climb. Every mountaineer wants to climb K2, right? So when he said it, I was like, really? Wow, why not? He was the best Pakistani climber that time. So when I mentioned it to my husband, he was like, no way, because obviously K2 is one of the deadliest mountain. So it took me 9 months or so to get him to agree. I kept hinting. I found a sponsorship. I started preparing for it. And then I asked a friend to be the middleman sort of thing. And she helped me to get him to agree. And I said, I will not take a risk for myself. Like, if I know weather's bad, I will not go up. I had a guide with me. So I will not climb so low without oxygen. So he agreed after 9 months. So, and then after, when I did K2 and Gashabrum, I'm maybe jumping ahead, but I want to share the family. So I climbed K2 and straight after Gashabrum 1. So as a new climber doing a double header with K2, it's not common either. So obviously I realized my strength too, and he sort of realized too. And when I was planning Everest for next year, Everest and Lhotse, again, he wasn't too sure, but he's not a type of person who will stop me. I'm at the stage now where I don't ask for permission, because I don't think anybody can permit another person. I think it's about agreement. Both of us sitting down, talking together and agreeing on something. I cannot give him permission for something. He cannot give me permission to something, because we are individual. We have our own needs, wants, desires, and our passions. So, but as a relationship, to have a good relationship, is important for both of us to agree. He wasn't deep down happy, and I was aware of that. But it was after Everest, when I climbed Everest, and 2 days after I climbed Lhotse, that he felt like part of the team. And I also involved him. Before, he wasn't involved in my Instagram update, marketing company that I was working with in Pakistan. So he started dealing with that directly, and he really felt like part of the team. He knew exactly where I was on the mountain. He used to update my social media. So then for that, after Lhotse, he was very like, for 2 or 4 mountains I climbed after Lhotse, he was very much involved. But the last expedition wasn't ideal. So he obviously now is at the point, we haven't spoken to him about what next yet. I will complete my 14 Peaks project, but I need to sit down and make sure that he's comfortable with my decisions.
Can completely imagine it can be very hard for especially a husband, as a man, to worry about his woman, and especially when you're going in the mountains, it's very high risk. And even my fiance wishes to climb Everest very soon, and मुझे अभी से tension हो रहा है Even though I'm a
I can
mountaineer.
imagine. Yeah, if he says he's going to climb, I'll have a heart attack because I'll constantly be worrying वो अपना पाँव सही जगह पे रख रहा है या नहीं, crevice आ गई तो क्या. And even if I daughters, I mean, I will. The reason I'm doing, one reason is I have many reasons. One is that I want to them to have me as role model, और ये सोचे कि everything is possible because that's not how I grew up. So, but if they tell me one day they want to be a mountaineer, I won't stop them, but I'll have heart attacks every single day because
Yes.
because yeah, it's not
Yes.
easy.
Yeah, I mean, and as you said, the last expedition was not ideal. I'm not sure how much of that you are willing to speak at this point about it, but the last, like when I wrote to you about the podcast, you had just come back from Shishapangma in this autumn. Four very good climbers of this community lost their lives in two different
Yeah.
avalanches on the same day within a few hours, and you were there on those slopes. As a mountaineer, I just want to know what happened up there because nobody knows the exact realities. Nobody is speaking about it. So, from your perspective, what happened that day?
For a lot of mountaineers, it was their last mountain. So they were either going to be the first American woman or first Japanese, first Pakistani, or first without oxygen to complete
Ji.
all 14. So obviously it was, very important mountain for everybody. So we were all going up and we were all really tired because most of us had just climbed Choyu in one day, very quickly came down to the next mountain because I think all of us really wanted to just get done with it. But also because there was competition, so there was a pressure that everybody needs to go get there as soon as possible. Basically, there were two women, American women, who were competing to be the first American women
Sure.
to have completed 14 peaks. So I think that competition unfortunately got a bit toxic and things happened which shouldn't have happened. So basically, one team was on one side of the mountain, second team who were both competing with each other were on the other, like taking a different route. It seemed, and there was no rope on the mountains. We were all climbing without the rope. The snow condition was not great, and one of our team members basically triggered one. They were a bit higher up. They triggered an avalanche, and then they got hit, and we saw it, and I stopped. So we were 15-20 minutes. We stopped after the accident. We didn't know exactly what happened, who was injured, who was actually gone. So in that time, some people were still considering going up because we were right just 400 meters down. And I knew straight away, I usually am very indecisive, but that moment in time, I knew I'm going straight down. Two reasons. One, because obviously there's been an accident and our team members have been hit. I didn't know what happened to who, but I knew there's been a big accident. So ethically, it's not right. And then second reason, I looked at the route. It was already afternoon. Again, I don't remember exact time right now, but it was very late in the day because it took us very long time to break the trail. When we left Camp 2, for 6-7 hours, we only gained 100 meters because we were basically, it was all flat. So it was very late in the day. And when I looked at the route, it looked very dangerous. Blue ice, without rope, not very safe. One avalanche happened. So we were kind of told to continue going up. And I said very clearly, no, I'm not going up because of our team, and also because there's a risk of another avalanche. The route's very dangerous. I just said, because I'm still okay. It was my 10th mountain. I'll be honest, I'm experienced in that way, but I am still not very experienced because I haven't been doing it for a long time. So I'm very open and honest about that. But I somehow knew, maybe instinct, that it's not. So when I started going down, a few other team members joined me. And then after 20 minutes or half an hour, people were coming behind me. They said there was another avalanche that hit the team that was going up. They were told by their team and Sherpas to not go up, but because they were so close, they thought, okay, we have a little bit, 40-50 meters left. Let us try. So they got hit by avalanche too. So very sad story. And I shared it on Instagram, and I took it eventually. I shared with Explorer Web, but after that I got inquiries from different media. I stopped because it was just too much. I didn't want to, I shared whatever I wanted to share, and I think enough people read it, and I didn't really want to be involved with it afterward because it was hurting. It was not easy for me either. I shared it because I was a victim of this last year. And as a reaction, I got angry. I'm a human being. And I reacted on one mountain this year. So I was competing this year because I was a victim of something similar last year.
कहाँ पे? Which mountain?
K2.
What happened?
K2. I don't want to very openly talk about it now, but it happened to me on K2.
Okay.
And then I was very angry and I reacted on Nanga Parbat. I was competing. For me, when I started it, it was spiritual because if I say even Islamically, our prophets, they used to go to mountain to have a conversation with God. मतलब वो हिंदी में उर्दू में बताती हूँ वो जो उन पे वही आती थी sort of revelations वो भी पहाड़ों पे आती थी. So that's one religious element, but also I know that वो बोलते हैं कि it's not the mountain you climb but ourselves. So for me it's that spiritual too. So when you start toxic competition, it's actually completely opposite to what I thought it should be. So because I've been climbing for 2 years. I've been in the mountains for longer, but 8,000 meter climbing just over 2 years. So I was shocked by and then I realized it's very common. It's been happening for a long time, since the last century. I was very, very disgusted. And like I said, because it happened to me and I reacted to. So when what happened on Shishapangma made me realize my reaction was wrong. If somebody else is doing it, let them be. My intention was not to. If I'm alone on the mountain, if I'm the only one on the mountain and naturally I get the record, then great, nothing wrong with that. But if there's somebody else, go together. Why are you not going together? Because it'll give an even better message. Agar two people from the same company are the first one to reach the mountain. I'll give you example as Sarbaz Khan, Abdul Joshi. They were both first Pakistani to climb Annapurna. ना तो जोशी की अचीवमेंट कम होती है ना सरबाज की अचीवमेंट कम होती है. They're both, they can say I'm the first. उनकी कोई बिजनेस अपॉर्चुनिटीज कोई स्पॉन्सर अपॉर्चुनिटीज कम नहीं हो रही हैं. So why have toxic competition? Why this should be, because mountain में जान जिंदगी और मौत का खेल है. So why the hell, sorry to use these words, but why the hell would you do that? So it became even more obvious to me after Shishapangma कि I shouldn't have reacted the way I did, because on Nanga Parbat I reacted and I really was competing. I was like, I'll take my revenge. I will prove myself. Yeah. So I hope it changes, but to be honest, from what I've seen, this will never stop, because as human beings, we have good traits, bad traits, but a lot of time this being the first, being the special one, it doesn't go away for a lot of people. And I'm trying. I'm a lot into personal growth and personal development, and I have been doing a lot of work on that. So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm very imperfect. I have lots of weaknesses, but at least one thing I will try especially after the last expedition, wherever I get a chance, unite with others and go together and be a team, rather than I'm not bothered about competition. There are a few things I was trying, like from selfish point of view. Obviously, first Pakistani was very new target. Last year, I never even thought I will climb all 14. So this year, I was aiming to be the first Pakistani. If I get that, great. If I don't, then great, because already जो मैंने achieve किया 7,000-8,000 in 1 year, great achievement. 10,000-8,000 in 2 years, great achievement. So if I cannot be the first to climb 14, no problem. If I cannot be, other things that I had in mind, no problem, because whatever I've achieved is more than I ever imagined in my life.
The only intention, and everybody needs to understand here, whoever is listening, that we speaking about this is not to blame somebody, because it's easy to blame and point fingers after it has happened. So there's no point in blaming somebody. Accident happens, shit happens, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it happens. But the last question about Shishapangma I would like to ask you is, what are the lessons that us as mountaineers can learn from the decisions and the actions and the mindset that was there on that day in people's heads?
Toxicity shouldn't be there. If somebody doesn't really want to go together as a team, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's saying don't do that. But don't be toxic. Don't play games. If you can be the first one, if you can win, but playing clean, there's nothing wrong with that. I also believe in good intention. If you have good intention, you'll achieve what you want. Maybe not exactly the way you imagined it to be, but you'll still be successful as long as you have good intention. You work really hard for what you want. And then also, second thing is, even what I learned, if somebody does you wrong, don't react. So what happened on Shishapangma, emotions took over. And I'm not blaming anybody, because that's exactly what I did before. I did on Nanga Parbat. But I learned for myself that don't let emotions overcome, because then you'll make the wrong decisions. And I saw that. I saw that people who were really, amazing people, but when they made wrong decisions because they reacted. We're all humans. Sometimes we say, well, it takes a long time to practice things, or to unlearn something and practice new habits.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody comes with their own experiences of life, which has shaped them into thinking, feeling, doing things the way they are. And just to add on to this, the third thing which I would say from Shishapangma is that, for example, you knew when to turn around. So that is something which I don't see a lot of people
Absolutely.
having that sense, I would say. See, phatti sabki hai, there are bad days, and it's important to push through that. But then to know when you have reached your edge, or when the conditions are absolutely not right, even though everybody
Yeah.
is pushing, there will always be that voice inside you ki nahi, yahan pe kuch to gadbad ho raha hai, something is not right here. And it's important to build that connection with yourself and to hear what your instincts are saying. And as you turned around there, I think that's another very big lesson which people can learn.
True, because it's the first time like I said, I'm very indecisive when I have to pick something, choose something, decide. I take a long time. There, I knew exactly, and I think I trusted my instinct, my gut feeling. And this is another lesson for me, that sometimes I have this gut feeling that I should do a certain thing, but then I'm not sure. I think for me, I always trust your instinct. Always go with what your gut. Honestly, I have a huge respect for people who turn around, because I've seen in my 2 years of climbing, I've seen so many people die. Matlab, this was one of the biggest accident, because we lost 4 people in 1 hour. But on K2 and last year in K2 and Broad Peak, I knew 5 people who lost their lives. So yeah, so I have a lot of respect for people who turn around, because you can get sponsor, you can make money again many times in your lifetime, but we only have one life.
As you said, you saw many people die. In my years of climbing, I've been climbing since 2016. Like when I was very young, when no brains and full energy. That was the time since when I'm climbing, and I saw a lot of people die. And when you go
Yeah.
through these experiences, it changes you as a human being. It puts life into a very clear perspective. So seeing all these people die that you've seen, what do you think
Yeah.
about it, and how has it changed you? How do you look at life and death?
K2 and Broad Peak, they were my first experience when I saw people dying on the mountain. So when I came back, how that happened, one of the deaths, it was even now was shocking for me. It shouldn't have happened. So when I tried to speak out about that, I was shot down. And nobody, I was shocked that in mountaineering community, if something bad happens, not many people speak up. Not many people who are there, they speak up for whatever reason, many reasons. But firstly, it was shocking. And when I tried to speak up, I was basically targeted, and I was told that I'm jealous, I'm trying to give the country bad name. So I not only was going through, I realized I was going through emotional trauma afterwards. I didn't know it that time. I found out a few months later. But I was also abused. I don't think it changed anything in me, because I was going through a lot at that time mentally. And it took me a long, I don't think I even came out of that. I came out of that after Everest and Lhotse, because I was just, I knew that these things happen. So I sort of accepted it. But I didn't enjoy my expedition or the achievement even after that. What changed me was actually this Shishapangma expedition, because I saw very clearly why it happened, how it could have been avoided, and how I can even change myself. To be honest, I think we were all very close, all of us, not just me, all of my team, all of like Imagine Nepal, NIMS Elite Expedition. I think we were two main ones, and then we were actually very close to being in those avalanches. So all of us, if those, to be honest, if those avalanches didn't came and they didn't kill 4 people, we would have been dead too. It's just we stopped. We stopped because we saw an avalanche. If we were all together, we would all died. And they said it, the expedition leaders also said, if they didn't die, if they weren't ahead of us and died, we would have all been there, and only people would go back to Kathmandu will be the kitchen teams, kitchen staff. It was my first time when I thought, oh my, no, actually a few things happened before to in Everest. There were like hundreds of rock. I mean, I've never seen anything, even K2.
On Everest?
So on Everest, so we were going from Camp 2 to Camp 3. And I think so I mean, I'm sure you would have heard, it didn't snow the whole winter, and it snowed in March and April, and it was much colder this year on Everest. So somehow, because of these changes, when we were climbing only that day, we saw like hundreds के quantity में rocks नीचे आ रहे थे, some big, some small. And I looked at the rocks, I said, that's it, I'm done, I'm gone. So it was maybe 10 लोग थे हम उस वक्त बीच में उसके. तो कुछ लोग उस राइट साइड पे थे, वो जो, क्योंकि वी वर सॉर्ट ऑफ एक्सपोज, कुछ लोग राइट साइड पे थे जो ऊपर थे, जो हमारे पीछे थे दे वर, वो जो नहीं पार्ट जहाँ से कैंप 2 के ऊपर से क्लाइंब जहाँ से प्रॉपर स्टार्ट होता है, वो उसके पीछे थे. बट इट वाज जस्ट 10 पीपल और सो, हम जो लोग जो थे बीच में थे. सो बेसिकली मेरे शेरपा मुझसे आगे थे, मेरे पीछे लोग थे, तो वी स्टार्टेड जंपिंग राइट लेफ्ट अप डाउन, लाइक लिटरली इट वाज, जो नहीं मूवी होती है उसका सीन लग रहा था. डिस्टेंस इतना था रॉक्स के बीच में कि वो देख के कि कितना कहाँ जंप करना है, वी वर डूइंग दैट. बट उतने रॉक मैंने अपनी लाइफ में नहीं, मतलब K2 इज नोन फॉर रॉक फॉल, लेकिन वो हाँ एवरेस्ट पे फर्स्ट टाइम हुआ था. और इवन शेरपा सेड दैट they've never seen anything like that on Everest just when you were there. So वो मेरे लिए I think that was one moment. लेकिन वो हो गया उसका मुझे इतना फील नहीं हुआ था कि okay I could have died. When I told my husband, he was like, oh you were so close to death, which is true. लेकिन उसका it never clicked on in my mind कि I was so close to death. Shishapangma पे we were all so close to death, and that was the first time I came back, and it made me reflect. Okay, when you asked me to do the podcast, you and a few other people who were asking me, I said very clearly, I cannot, because I'm not ready mentally. Even the way I'm speaking, मुझसे बात ही नहीं की जा रही थी. 4 weeks, I think somebody asked my husband to do an interview or something, and I went there and I couldn't even answer. My mind was going blank, brain fog या blank हो रहा था, and they didn't even ask me मुश्किल questions. I couldn't answer just because मेरा वो like mind was somewhere else. So it took me obviously it took me some time to get out of that. Lekin this was really hard for me.
When you say that after you came back, you were completely lost, and I'm sure there are a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions and a lot of answers that one is seeking. So वो जब भी just आप ये incident fresh हुआ और जब भी आप घर पे आए, what were the kind of thoughts that were going in your head?
Honestly, मुझे याद भी नहीं है, but I was just upset. I think I was really upset because मुझे बार-बार याद आ रहा था. Anna was just sitting next to me, so full of life, such an amazing girl. I met Gina before. उनके जो Sherpas है, मेरे माइंड में पूरी वो जो बोलते ना रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही थी. जो मिंगमार था, I could even, मुझे वो विजुलाइज हो रहा था कि उसकी आईज कितनी रेड थी गोइंग अप. He was so exhausted. और वो पूरी स्टोरी, जैसे वो उसने अपना जो लोड था समिट पुष्पिक, कैसे उसके सर पे था, हाउ ही वाज सिटिंग डाउन टू रेस्ट, एंड वो कैसे उसने रस्सी छोड़ के एना की हेल्प, लाइक द होल थिंग केप्ट गोइंग ऑन एंड ऑन एंड ऑन, एंड नथिंग मेड सेंस दैट टाइम. जब शुरू के 5-6 वीक थे, नथिंग मेड सेंस. ये तो अभी मुझे 1-2 वीक पहले मुझे एहसास हुआ है कि I was so close to that. My whole team, everybody else were so close. 3 दफा, like 3 times ऐसी चीजें हुई कि we could have died, but the way last minute I changed my mind, वो उसने मुझे बचाया. And I was like, how, like वो that also didn't make sense कि matlab God ya intuition, something was saved me 3 times. And also matlab I don't know baki team ka kya hai kis tarah, but it clicked only two weeks ago, 2 weeks or so ago. उससे पहले
Wow.
I was just upset about how, and I kept thinking कि how, मुझे यकीन ही नहीं आ रहा था कि वो लोग they're not here anymore. So I think I'm still in the phase. I know what the lessons I learned, but it took me a few weeks to make sense of it. कि yes, and plus also dealing with family members, because obviously I was very vocal, and I knew I didn't want to upset anybody, but I also knew that how important the story it's to share the story. And I also got a online abuse कि क्यों share कर रही हो story, sensationalize कर रही हो story, and I was very hurt कि my intention is not to sensationalize a death. Like I'm not that kind of a, मतलब वो तो इतना गिरा हुआ इंसान कर सकता है. I know people do that.
Correct.
But मेरी intention, but not everybody knows me as a person. उनको justify करना was, and then I stopped justifying because I knew कि मैंने, and eventually I ended up deleting all of that because I knew कि जिसने पढ़नी थी, जिसको, if anybody wants to take a lesson, उनका हो गया. मैं किसी को change नहीं कर सकती. So I eventually it was upsetting me, तो मैंने delete कर दिया इन पे.
When you lose somebody, the immediate things that are in your mind are just the last memories. It's just like a film which keeps going. Yeah, I completely understand that. But to take this on a little different tangent, to climb 10 8,000-meter mountains, it's clear that you are a very strong physically and a very strong human being. So what is the kind of training that you go through? आप training के लिए क्या करते हो? Because you stay in Dubai, there are no mountains around you.
So I do strength, endurance, and a little bit of cardio. I should do, matlab, I am not a big fan of cardio, लेकिन I do it not as much as I should do. और ये मतलब 3 तरह की ट्रेनिंग करती हूँ. एंड बिकॉज लाइक यू सेड यहाँ पे माउंटेन नहीं है. हाइकिंग मतलब लास्ट ईयर की थी, 2 years पहले की थी. मतलब आई डू whenever I can. अगर हाइकिंग, क्योंकि we have to drive 2.5 hours to Russell Khema, Fujairah.
Okay.
So 5 घंटे दिन के. And of course being a mother and obviously expedition पे बहुत ज्यादा घर से दूर रहना पड़ता है. रिसेंटली मैंने रिड्यूस कर दिया बिकॉज वो obviously hiking endurance के लिए होती है. तो if I can do the endurance training in the park, gym downstairs, so I prefer that. But really for anybody hiking, if they can go to the mountain, what tracks, I saw your training and I know you did a lot for, I don't know, Everest के लिए की थी या किसके लिए. I saw, I followed. My God, your training was like, oh my God, how do you manage to do that? So I mean, your training was perfect. I would say perfect. लेकिन मैं जितना कर सकती थी इधर ही, मतलब सिटी में रह के मैंने उतना ही की. जिम में की, पार्क में की. और एंड इट वर्क फॉर मी बिकॉज आई थिंक आई वाज अ amateur boxer. So हर किसी की ट्रेनिंग, as you know, different होती है. तो मेरा जो amateur boxing की ट्रेनिंग थी, that also helped me a lot, क्योंकि उसमें breathing techniques होती हैं. पिछले साल I used this क्या बोलते हैं, hypoxic को, वो जो मशीन होती है hypoxic.
Yes, hypoxic. Yeah, the pipe. The pipe.
The
Correct.
pipe. मतलब ट्रेनिंग के लिए नहीं, but just at home because I knew कि मैं mountains में नहीं जा सकती इतना ज्यादा, trekking पे नहीं जा सकती, hiking पे. So I use a bit of that, not a lot, because with kids it's not easy for me to use the tent and all. थोड़ा बहुत करती थी, but all of that really helped me. And I could see even जो first mountain पे थी, even the mountaineers they saw जो साथ होते थे team में. Sorry, I don't know how we switched to Urdu, but I'll continue in English for people who don't understand. Yeah, even physically I improved massively compared to last year, the year before.
As you said, there is no perfect training. Every individual must find out what works for them and they must do that. So जैसे अभी आपने कहा endurance और strength, थोड़ा मैं इसमें और एक layer खोलना चाहूंगा because यहाँ पे जो लोग सुन रहे हैं, they all are somewhere or the other climbing mountains or wish to climb mountains. You've climbed 10. So whatever you are doing, it works for you. So in terms of endurance, what are the kind of trainings? Like, do you run? Do you run on a treadmill, Stairmaster, or?
So I had a personal trainer. So that really helped me because again, with that, I'll be very honest again, I'm not very self-disciplined. So having a personal trainer really helped me because he used to force me to do it. And also I did this, क्या नाम है, Steve House. I followed a little bit of Steve House's training, which is zone 2 training for mountaineers. So that also really helped me. So I couldn't have, I think you, I don't know if I'm not wrong, I think you basically planned all your training yourself, if I'm not wrong, right?
Absolutely. So no. So that's the book which I first read, Training for the New Alpinism by Steve House and Scott Johnson. शायद आप उसी book की बात कर रहे हो, right?
I was given as a क्या बोलते हैं, gift his program. I think it's
Wow.
$200 or something, online program.
Okay. Okay.
Wo that was given. So I
Yes.
started it, I was a little bit late because I had 2 months or so. But obviously some of those wo jo methodologies hai, that helped me a little bit. But again, my personal trainer was the main motivation. He lives here in Dubai. So basically,
Yes.
I did Stairmaster with a
Okay.
backpack. I used to do that for endurance. I also, so my personal trainer used to make me do this, a lot of exercises with the bands, the wo jo elastic
Resistance band.
resistance band. Sorry, my memory
जी.
for these words is very bad. So I'm very good at climbing mountains. I'm very bad at remembering words. But so we did a lot of training with the resistance band that really helped with the endurance side. Many different exercises. So combination of that, combination of stair training, stairmaster with a backpack, and strength ke liye weights, body weight bhi, actual weights bhi, that helped me.
And do you include any high intensity training like sprints ho gaye ya?
Yes,
Yeah?
also. So again, my personal trainer helped me with so yeah, so we used to incorporate. So I wasn't, when I said cardio, I'm not a big fan of running,
Okay.
etc. So we did high intensity instead. So he used to make me do sprints and then some other exercises in between, then sprints again.
After reading this book, Training for the New Alpinism by Steve House and Scott Johnson, जिसका ट्रेनिंग प्लान आपको गिफ्ट किया गया था, उसमें of course towards the end it changes, but in the beginning it's a lot of focus on, even in the book a lot of emphasis has been put on low intensity and long duration training, but people underestimate the impact of high intensity training, interval training also. And I think interval trainings, if you add them into your training routine maybe once or twice in a week, gives you the power that you need in the mountains. Muscular power jo hota hai, that comes from these kind of training. See, as a mountaineer, the number one question that I get asked on my Instagram and on my YouTube, I'm sure even you, is how do you raise the money to climb all these mountains? Each expedition costs like 30 to 50,000 US dollars. How did you manage to climb 8,000 meter mountains? Was it through sponsors or was it your own money, or how was that journey like, financial planning of the expedition?
So I climbed the very first peak, Shishapangma 2, with my own savings.
Okay.
I had an amazing job. I was earning really well, so I was able to do that. But then the very next year when I planned K2, I wasn't really sure whether I'll stay in the job or not. And then I decided to look for sponsors. I was very, very lucky, very blessed and very lucky, because somehow I met this new sponsor, Dubai Expo 2020 here. Somehow, like
Okay.
he was in a room where I was for 5 minutes, and I was, वो बोलते ना, क्या बोलते हैं, right place, क्या मैंने
Right
बताया ना,
place, right time.
right place, right time. That's exactly what happened. When he found out what I do, and then he told me about his foundation, and I reached out to them. They saw my profile, my achievements, and they very quickly, I mean, I went to see them in Lahore, and they said, we're willing to support you, because they
क्या
were
बात है?
already promoting sport and promoting women in sport. I mean, I know your journey too, because I've been following your journey for a long time too. It's not easy to find sponsor, but so they sponsored me for K2. Then after I came down from K2, I called them and I said I'm planning to climb Gashabrum 1 after that. They honestly, they didn't take long to approve that, because in Pakistan, I mean in India, I know you have so many amazing women athletes, so many. And I follow, I mean, when I was boxing, I used to follow Mary Com's journey, and you have lots of like amazing cricketers and badminton stars, international Olympians. But in Pakistan, we're not very lucky. We have amazing athletes, but very 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 small number compared to India. And of course population different है, but फिर भी
जी.
very very limited. मतलब हमें हमारे और issues हैं. जिसकी वजह से हमें औरतें बाहर नहीं आती हैं, उनको आने जाने, उनको अपॉर्चुनिटीज इस तरह नहीं मिलती, फैमिली सपोर्ट नहीं होती है। तो दैट्स व्हाई आई थिंक आई हैड दैट एडवांटेज। मैं बार बार लक को इसलिए लाती हूँ बिकॉज मेरे से भी बहुत से बेटर एथलीट्स हैं जो हु आर मोर, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट पाकिस्तान बट जनरली outside of Pakistan too, who are much more experienced, technical, more achievements, but they sometimes they don't connect with the right sponsor. I'll say Bard, so it's Bilkis and Abdul Razak
Mm-hmm.
Foundation
Mm-hmm.
sponsored. Then they sponsored my Everest, Lhotse. Then I found another one sponsor for a partial
जी.
Sensodyne. Bard sponsored my. I kept asking them. So I never planned to climb 7 peaks. So Everest Lhotse kiya, then I called them. I said, I want to climb Nanga Parbat and Broad Peak in Pakistan. Then they approved it straight away. Then after Broad Peak, I said I want to climb the 3 peaks in autumn, Manaslu. They approved it. So I've been very lucky because
Wow.
usually sponsors don't do that. But I mean, now I need to find, because they've sponsored me for so many mountains, and as you know, it's a lot of money, especially Everest and especially the Chinese peaks are even more, and it's not easy. Even after climbing 10 mountains, it's not easy for me. You know, Sharoz, he really struggled before finding Bard.
Yes.
He struggled to find sponsor, although his achievement was massive. So sometimes it's just meeting the right person at the right time, and that's exactly what happened to me. So my stories when it comes to sponsor, I think, I don't know if Amini can relate to it. I cannot really share anything because like I said, I'm just lucky when it comes to that. But I would say people who want to get sponsors, it's easy once you have some sort of record, because that's what companies need. I mean, I think your story was different because somehow you managed to even
Somehow, I don't know how.
yeah,
Somehow.
but I mean, it's amazing. This is what you did. Was, for me, it's impossible because in Pakistan it's actually impossible to do what you did.
जी.
Even anywhere in the world, it's impossible to do. But you made that happen, and honestly, that's a massive. Even before climbing Everest, that's a massive, massive achievement. But generally, either I think you can share more about how you did it. But usually, if you have if you like somehow manage to make or break a record, then you can use that. You can reach out to different brands and you can share what you will offer to them. So it's not just about, oh, sponsor me, I need money for my personal dream. I mean, you can obviously say this will be the first Indian expedition or first, you can tell them, अगर कोई title आपको मिलेगा, आप उनको क्या देंगे? मतलब obviously they want to know, either a lot of companies are interested in their own PR, whether or not it's a big deal, but even if अगर CSR की corporate sustainability टाइप का कोई ऑब्जेक्टिव है, वो देन अपनी रिपोर्ट्स में इसके बारे में बता सकते हैं, इवन इफ दे डोंट वांट टू मेक अ बिग डील इन एट द नेशनल लेवल टू. लेकिन you always have to tell them what will you give them, because जब I say I'm lucky, but I was the first Pakistani to climb an 8,000 meter Pakistan. I was the first to climb Gasherbrum 2. So then my expedition was K2, और K2 उस वक्त किसी ने climb नहीं किया हुआ था. So and then I could be first or second because there was another female to climb that mountain. And then to her mountain pe I was mostly out of 10, I was first on 8 mountains and I was second on 2 mountains. Even if titles are not important for you, they're very important for the brands you will work, because they can use that. So wo hamesha think about what you can offer the companies when you reach out to them.
Absolutely, very well said. And you said you are lucky, but actually, what I see in you, it's not just luck. Yes, of course, there is God's grace and blessings that works. But from my experience, what I have realized is, see, when people ask me how to raise money, मैं खुद जवाब नहीं दे सकता because I don't know the steps the exact right way. Because something worked for me somehow.
Exactly.
One thing which I can see in all the athletes that I meet who are supported by sponsors somehow, there is a sense of honesty. When you meet them, they are not putting on fake costumes. जैसे बहुत लोग sponsors के पास जाते हैं, उनका पूरा रूप बदल जाता है. What I've realized is these rich people, they are not stupid. They've become rich because they are more smart than most people. So what they look for is just simple honest individuals. कि कोई अगर दिल से साफ तरीके से ये कर रहा है, yes of course they would look for benefits and all that comes at a later stage. वो benefits भी सुनने को तब interested होगे जब उनको लगेगा कि ये आदमी यहाँ पे आया है, इंसान या औरत, वो साफ दिल से आया है, there are no ulterior motives and they just want to climb. So let's see how we can make this work. So that honesty towards your game and towards whoever you speak to, I think that is the key.
Totally agree, because मैंने बहुत देखा है, and when I talk about my stuff, I talk about my strength and weaknesses at the same time. क्योंकि कभी कभी मुझे लगता है कि नहीं, शो ऑफ, अगर मैं सिर्फ स्ट्रेंथ्स की बात करूंगी तो शो ऑफ है, but anyway उसमें
Hmm.
एक जो
Hmm.
स्ट्रेंथ है मेरी, वो यही है कि I've been honest all the time.
Hmm.
नियत सही थी, नियत खराब नहीं थी,
Hmm.
क्योंकि जब नियत खराब होती है ना तो वो आपका कहीं ना कहीं से वो you want to achieve वो नहीं होता है। तो वो मैंने बहुत देखा, स्पेशली माउंटेनियरिंग में मतलब कभी कभी टेम्पररी, इवन पीपल हु हैड बैड इंटेंशंस, टेम्पररी उनको मिल जाता है, कुछ टेम्पररी जो उनको
Hmm.
चाहिए होता है मिल जाता है, लेकिन देन वो जो बाद में उनके वो जो करना चाहते वो नहीं होता है, बिकॉज उनकी नीयत सही नहीं थी। और आई थिंक अब भी एक जो चीज मुझे, मैंने बोला ना कि आई वाज लकी, उसमें ठीक है, ब्लेस वो इसलिए भी थी ब्लेस बिकॉज आई नेवर हैड अ बैड इंटेंशन फॉर एनीबॉडी।
क्या बात है. Which has been the most favorite expedition for you so far? If
नांगा पर्वत, नांगा
Nanga Parbat,
पर्वत।
Q.
I do say कि नागा पर्वत पे ठीक है, I was competing, which I next time I will not do that. I'll do just for the love of climbing and for myself. लेकिन नागा पर्वत पे मेरी performance, maybe because of competition, maybe
Mhm.
because I was competing, तो वो I was like something else a mountain. Like I felt like मेरे में किसी ने ना कुछ
Wow.
extra fuel डाल दिया. But mentally, I was stronger on Nanga Parbat. Physically, I was very strong. I've never been this strong to say. But yet, anyway, overall, I was much stronger than I think other mountains. Nanga Parbat पे लोगों ने भी जो मेरे साथ वो experienced Sherpas थे, who were with not with me, लेकिन जो मेरी team में K2 पे थे साथ. They even said कि they were shocked because मेरा confidence, my skills, everything is completely different. And also
Wow.
Kashmir too. I think that was my favorite because जो मेरे गाइड थे उन पे जिन्होंने मुझे माउंटेनियरिंग सिखाई थी, उधर ही I'm going for a proper course first time in January this year. I've not been trained properly. मैंने जो सीखा है अपने माउंटेन पे गाइड से सीखा है, और वो
Okay.
गशब्रुम सीखा था, and he was the
Wow.
most amazing. I mean, अभी भी मैं जब लोगों को देखती हूँ ना, he was the best person, okay, mountaineer, one of the best, but best person in the mountain, because उनमें जरा भी बुरी नियत, बुरा दिल, like the most amazing heart he had. He died just before my K2 expedition. So, I mean, not, he died in Skardu, not during an expedition, but
Okay.
yeah, so that Gashabram 2 has been my favorite climbs.
No matter how many mountains one climbs, I think Everest always is Everest, it's the highest mountain. So how was Everest for you?
When I was on top of Everest for a little bit, I realized, oh my God, I'm on top of the world, literally. So like you said, for some reason, it's not really the most special mountain for me. I don't know why. Although it's the highest, and
Sure.
there's a saying, if you want to be famous, climb Everest. If you want respect, climb K2.
जी
Which is
जी
true, which
जी.
is what happened to me in Pakistan. People didn't
Hmm.
really know who Naila was after climbing K2, but they knew my name after I climbed Everest. So I had a very bad time. So on Annapurna, I was क्या बोलते हैं उसको, evacuated from the mountain. So and
Yeah.
I was abused online quite a lot. So when I came back, so I had 10 days or so when I came home, and then before going back to Everest, I was mentally in a very bad state. Maybe because of that, I really don't. But after Everest and Lhotse, when I came down, because जब evacuation हुई थी ना, I was still a new sort of new mountaineer. You can not new mountaineer, but not very experienced. So मुझे लोगों ने बोलना शुरू कर दिया. She was tired and they were lying, and I was with Arjun and Sharoz
I know.
and three of us, and our team
Correct.
member वो जो उस वक्त क्या हुआ था, Noel was in the tent next to us, हमारा team member, he died right next to us. Baljeet was उसके
Stranded.
एक घंटे बाद, हाँ, she was, we were told she died, so हमें उस वक्त नहीं, वो तो बाद में आके पता चला she's alive, and और जो how can I forget his Anurag.
Anurag.
We knew who died. वो हमारे लिए, he was dead for 3-4 days.
Yeah.
So all of that happened, and then obviously we were evacuated for a reason. Route खराब था, वो रस्सी काटी गई थी to find Anurag. Avalanches आए थे. So and then there were a few other things. I don't want to go into detail now, but It's not because I was tired and we were evacuated. लेकिन बाद में लोगों ने पाकिस्तान में भी बोलना शुरू कर दिया tired थे. So when I climbed Everest, उसके 2 दिन बाद लोटसे climb किया. Then I came down all by myself. तो जो shut up call थी जो लोग बोल रहे थे ना, abuse कर रहे थे कि she was tired and I was. It's not again in the mountaineering. It's not a big deal, but then I was the first one to reach Everest after the rope fixing team this year. So वो और उसके बाद लोटसे पे भी I was the first international
Wow.
climber rope fixing team. तो अगर मैं tired होके नीचे आना था तो of course मैं उनके मतलब था कि I was not physically strong. So जब एवरेस्ट और लोटसे किया देन वो लोग चुप हो गए. उसके बाद अभी तक नहीं बोले कि ये लोग भी बोलते हैं कि इसको 6 लोग उठा के जाते हैं वरना what she's done is not achievable. Of course mentally और my husband got confidence in me. मुझे भी सेल्फ बिलीव है ना वो एवरेस्ट लोटसे के बाद आया था. That really helped me. But वो जो
Wow.
फीलिंग है ना वो अचीवमेंट की मुझे एवरेस्ट के बाद इतनी नहीं आई. I'll be honest.
I completely understand that because Everest happened in between of so much, I completely understand that. And Annapurna ke time pe, when you guys were evacuated and brought down to Kathmandu, I was in Kathmandu. I went to meet Arjun, Sheroz in the hospital.
Oh, I didn't know that.
God, we missed meeting each other back then in
I was
Kathmandu.
in a different hospital, so I stayed overnight.
I want to understand a little bit climbing scene in Pakistan. Listen, now we are seeing a lot of people such as yourself, Sheroz, Sirbaz, Abdul Bhai, Samina. Like you guys are now in many ways leading the scene of mountaineering of the world now. Sheroz is the youngest person to climb, I think 13 8,000ers. That's a huge title and a huge example to have. So how is the climbing scene in Pakistan like?
Overall, to be honest, not great. Of course, we have 8,000er, and I think हमारे पास जो 7,000er हैं वो नेपाल से भी ज्यादा है. अभी तक ना मतलब 1-2 साल पहले तक I would say जो भी माउंटेनियरिंग हो रही थी ना वो सिंपली इसलिए हो रही थी बिकॉज हमारे पास 8,000er ऐसा मतलब पहाड़ है, हाई एल्टीट्यूड पहाड़ है और फॉरेनर्स आते थे, उनको क्लाइंब करना होता था तो जो लोकल्स थे उनको लेके जाते थे. तो वो ही मेन क्लाइंबिंग रही है. गिलगित बल्तिस्तान से ऑब्वियसली ज्यादातर वो जो माउंटेनियर्स हैं या माउंटेनियर स्लैश गाइड बोल लो, हैप्स बोल लो, पोर्टर्स बोल लो, वो उधर ही के थे सारे. गिलगित बल्तिस्तान से बाहर की बहुत रेयरली आई कैन इवन मतलब मैं आई कैन मे बी या दो हाथों पे काउंट कर सकती हूँ. गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से भी इतना इंटरेस्ट नहीं था और जो अल्पाइन क्लब है, आई बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, वो इतना कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं कंपेयर टू इंडिया. इवन मतलब नेपाल को तो ठीक है, उनके पास एवरेस्ट है, उसकी वजह से उनको बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट भी मिली तो वो बहुत डेवलप्ड है. लेकिन अगर मैं इंडिया की, आई डिडंट नो, मैं आप लोगों की पोस्ट देखती हूँ उस पे, जैसे आप लोगों का जो आई थिंक इंडियन माउंटेनियरिंग इंस्टीट्यूट है इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग,
Indian
एक
Mountaineering Foundation, IMF.
फाउंडेशन,
जी.
और वो जो आपका हिमालयन क्लब भी है, बहुत ज्यादा हमसे बहुत ज्यादा डेवलप्ड है, हमसे बहुत ज्यादा, और आपके बहुत ज्यादा माउंटेनियर्स हैं जिन्होंने एवरेस्ट क्लाइम किया. हमारे आई थिंक इस साल आके 10-11 हुए हैं. आपके तो बहुत, लाइक इवन जब मैं देख रही थी ना परमिट्स वगैरह, तो इंडियंस के 50-50 माउंटेनियर्स ऑल
Correct.
टुगेदर एक
Correct.
साल में आ रहे हैं 8,000
Correct.
के लिए. तो वो हम वहां पे अभी बिल्कुल भी नहीं है, बिल्कुल भी नहीं पहुंचे. एक जो विंटर K2 एक्सपेडिशन हुआ था, उसके बाद मोहम्मद अली सतपारा की डेथ के बाद गवर्नमेंट एंड इवन पब्लिक, उनका थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्ट बढ़ गया है उसमें. और अभी मैं स्कर्दू जा रही हूँ होपफुली
जी.
नेक्स्ट मंथ, अगर डेट चेंज नहीं हुई तो. नाउ दे आर लाइक डूइंग कॉन्फ्रेंसेस, सेमिनार, जहाँ पे डिस्कस करने के लिए कि क्या क्या इम्प्रूव कर सकते हैं. बिकॉज वो इवन जो हमारा अभी पोर्टर K2 पे जिसकी डेथ हुई थी, बहुत बड़ी कंट्रोवर्सी बनी थी,
Yeah.
उसके बाद थोड़ी सी मूवमेंट और भी आ रही है. एंड
Okay.
वी डोंट रियली हैव पॉलिसीज वगैरह, मतलब जो पोर्टर्स गाइड्स उनको बोलो, आई यूजुअली डोंट लाइक द वर्ड पोर्टर, लेकिन समझाने के लिए
हाँ
उनकी
हाँ.
ना तो ट्रेनिंग है, ना कुछ है, ना रूल्स है, ना पॉलिसीज है, कुछ भी नहीं है. So a lot of work needs to be done.
People like you and me in respective countries whose job is to do our sport in a good style and
Yeah.
speak about it in a way
Yeah.
that people listen to it. And I think लोगों के कानों तक अगर बात पहुंचे तो कहीं ना कहीं that is what is needed, because when people start following, when eyes and ears are on you, that's when government starts getting interested, the private sector starts getting interested. So I think what we are doing is what is needed, and eventually in time it will happen. Nowadays, do you see any, like for example, especially in the last 2 years, we are seeing that women mountaineers are doing more amazing things than men mountaineers. Christine ko le lo, aap ko le lo, Priyanka from India. These are all people who are doing much more records and much more crazier things than men. Do you still feel when you go to the mountains or when you read things online that there is still a little discrimination or this perception that women are inferior to men even after doing all these things? Do you still feel कि ऐसा है कि थोड़ा better हो रहा है कि how do you see this?
है for sure
Hmm.
better. I guess maybe if I use my example, मतलब उस appreciation के साथ साथ I used to hear these comments के इसके पीछे इसको तो 6 लोग उठा के लेके जाते होंगे ऊपर, और या इसके पीछे कोई ना कोई क्या वर्ड यूज किया था, लॉबी है, and I was like कौन सी I wish I knew कि कौन सी लॉबी, but I don't know exactly what they meant, but I heard these comments. Even if you see my Lhotse वाली video, Lhotse Everest वाली, उसमें it's obvious you can't see anybody. It's just me and my Sherpa. Of course, I rely on the Sherpa's help. I'm very open about it. मैं ये
Of
नहीं बोलती कि
course.
मैं अकेली कुछ जाके करती हूँ. वो रिस्क भर जाता है. And
Hmm.
with my small kids, अगर बड़े बच्चे होते तो I would have taken that risk. Right now, I will not take that risk. And I ऐसा कभी भी नहीं बोला कि मैं अपनी पोस्ट में, मतलब okay, कभी कभी पोस्ट में they're about me, but I'm very open about Sherpa है, कौन है, टीम है,
जी.
वो बहुत जरूरत होती है. But yeah, that hurts कि
Hmm.
लोग इसलिए ये बोलते हैं कि 6 बंदों के साथ जा रही है, and these comments are coming from men because they just cannot come to terms. एक फीमेल ये सब कुछ कर रही है जो कि वो नहीं करेंगे, because they're not
Hmm.
willing, they don't want to do it and they're not willing to put in the hard work. So I used to get upset when I used to see the views online, but I've realized it's
Hmm.
only people who either don't have enough to do, because I mean I sometimes scroll and see the comments, but then I stop myself because मैं बोलती हूँ कि कोर्स ऑनलाइन कोर्स क्यों नहीं कर रही उस टाइम पे. So it's only people
Hmm.
who are not doing enough in their life, they have time to abuse somebody. Even if I,
Perfect.
मतलब अगर मेरे पास time है scroll करने का, I would never take time out to abuse somebody, never ever ever. And they are insecure. Main thing is they are insecure about themselves. क्योंकि अगर कोई insecure नहीं होगा अपने बारे में, they'll never ever say something, they'll never ever abuse somebody online or in real. Again, I'll be honest, I think some people might not like this comment. I
जी.
do believe, I know that we are made different. Women have different strengths,
Yes.
men have different
Yes.
strengths. We're not competing with men. And I mean, okay, I'm going to say this. Like,
Yes.
I think that in some cases men are stronger than women. So
Yes.
maybe even if emotionally भी बोले, I think because of the monthly
Yeah.
cycle we go
Yes.
through, we're not emotionally strong. So we are made different. But इसका ऐसा मतलब नहीं कि सबके सभी हम वो generalize करें. So I know for a fact that I'm a lot more stronger than millions of men. Millions of
Hmm.
men. मैं ऐसा नहीं बोलती हूँ कि men, I still believe कि men are stronger, they're made stronger physically. उनकी जो फिजिक है वो नेचुरली ही
Yeah,
स्ट्रॉन्गर
naturally.
बनाई
Yeah.
गई है. सो
Perfect.
वो मैं कभी भी, मेरे माइंड में कभी भी नहीं आता कि आई एम competing with a man या competing, I never. And then of course अगर सोचा जाए तो a lot of जो Sherpas हैं, a lot of पाकिस्तान में हैप्स हैं, they are men too. तो ऐसा भी नहीं बोलूंगी, हो सकता है लड़कियों को वो अगर Sherpa लेडीज को वो अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं मिली हो इसलिए ऐसा है. बट या सो मेरे माइंड में वो बोथ है कि men are made stronger than us, but there's no reason why we cannot physically make ourselves as strong. तो या मेरा थोड़ी सी वो कंट्रोवर्शियल होता है, सिटिंग ऑन द फेंस टाइप स्टेटमेंट दी है मैंने.
नो नो नो, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट. एंड जो इस चीज को मिसअंडरस्टैंड करेंगे या कंट्रोवर्सी के एंगल से सोचेंगे, दे हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड anything about the fundamentals of how a man and a woman is made. Like when we talk about equality, it's not about being equal in the equal sense. No. Yeah, of course, men are different. They have different fundamental roles. Women are different. They have different fundamental roles in the society. It's been like this since millions of years. There's nothing wrong or right about it. That's just how it is. And when a man and a woman with their individual roles, when they come together, that's when a beautiful union happens. But I think what we are speaking about here is the equality in terms of opportunity. जैसे अगर आपको पहाड़ चढ़ने जाना है, there should be no like this in people's minds कि ये लड़की है इसके लिए नहीं कर सकती. इसके पीछे कोई लॉजिक ही नहीं है. ये वो लोग हैं जो
मुझे
कभी.
पहले बोला जाता था, यस, मुझे पहले सीरियस
करेक्ट.
जब when I went for my first trek, they looked at me and they were like, okay, मतलब हंसते थे कि हो पाएगा नहीं हो पाएगा. जब मैं when I was on G2, again I did climb G2. I now don't feel embarrassed about sharing it. I climbed it 6.5 months after having a baby. And that's the period where
Wow.
people usually say, I mean, हमारे especially Asia में बोला
जी,
जाता है कि 6 महीने तो आप कोई मतलब बैठे रहो, रेस्ट करो, थोड़ा बहुत काम करो, कोई
correct.
एक्सट्रीम एक्टिविटी नहीं करो. So
Wow.
I mean, I didn't do it to prove that wrong, because मेरी maternity leave थी ऑफिस से, मुझे वो यूज करनी थी, because उसके बाद मुझे छुट्टी नहीं मिलनी थी. It was just that. But when I came down,
Hmm.
a gynecologist told me that she's so happy that she has this example, because she used to tell women कि एक्सरसाइज करो. मतलब ऑब्वियसली ऐसे
Hmm.
नहीं, अपनी बॉडी के लिहाज से डॉक्टर की एडवाइस के साथ. क्लिनिक में साउथ इंडियन लेडी थी, शी सेड ओ नहीं, साउथ इंडिया में तो, पाकिस्तान में भी बोलते हैं कि 6 महीने बस बेड पे रेस्ट करो. पाकिस्तान में भी ऐसा है. मतलब ऑब्वियसली दे हैव टू स्टार्ट डूइंग समथिंग, लेकिन बेसिकली नो एक्सट्रीम एक्टिविटी. सो शी सेड आई एम सो हैप्पी कि तुमने ये किया है, बिकॉज आई कैन गिव अ प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल टू वुमेन दैट यू कैन डू, यू कैन, यू नो, देयर इज नो हार्म इन slowly take it slowly, like 2 महीने के बाद आप slowly आप एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हो. there's nothing bad with that.
Before we end this conversation, there is something called as rapid fire. I know you might know what that
Oh,
means. Simple life related questions and like quick questions, quick answers. Naila, what is your favorite food?
oh my God. Okay. Thai.
Thai food. Okay.
I struggle because I have like 4 or 5, but I picked
Okay.
one.
Which is your current favorite movie?
मुझे उसका नाम भी भूल गया. Shawshank Redemption. It's just
Oh,
random name. It's not, मतलब it's one of my favorite, but just
okay.
to answer you.
In your perception, what is your biggest strength?
Self-belief when I want to.
What is your biggest weakness?
So self-belief is my strength. If I want to do something, I know that I'll do everything to make that happen. But at the same time, I doubt myself. So it shouldn't be. I mean, they're contradicting. I climbed 10 peaks recently, and it's very recently that I thought I've done something amazing, which, not even, I don't know, maybe not even 10. I don't know the exact number, not even 10 women in the world have done. I shouldn't be. I should be proud of myself. And I mean, it's okay. I guess it's okay even if I'm not proud of myself. But yeah, this contradicting self-doubt
Hmm.
with self-belief is one. I
Hmm.
wish I didn't have that. But somebody told me very recently, it's okay if you're not proud of yourself, because it's not stopping you from doing what you want to.
Self love kaho ya self pride kaho, wo hona hi nahi chahiye, because love is something which other people do to other people. Like you love somebody or you are proud of somebody else. So
Yeah.
as long as people are proud of you, I think that's job done. There is no need to be self proud, because that, as a it just
It's a
that
very good perspective of the same thing that I was told. Very like a different
correct,
angle, but same thing. But yeah, very true. Because I was
exactly.
told the same thing. It's okay. Is it stopping you from doing something? And I thought about it. No, it just bothers me. But you're right. We shouldn't even have that need, because it's something that others,
Yeah, you are
yeah,
proud of
should.
somebody else, you love somebody else. So now self love, self pride, because कहीं और से नहीं मिल रहा, इसीलिए खुद को प्यार करना पड़ता है, खुद से pride. लेकिन that's not true. There are so many people around us who love us and are very proud of us. This is usually a question I ask people at the very beginning, but मैं भूल गया. Why do you climb mountains?
So I started it just because I was curious. I wanted to experience, I think I mentioned, I wanted to experience what professional mountaineers go through, mind and body goes through. I was an athlete already. So it started as a curiosity, a personal journey. And first two, I purely did them for myself. And then something else came up, that I want to be a role model for my daughters, that anything is possible, because that's not how I grew up. I mean, even I told you 5 years ago, I didn't even think that I will ever do anything adventurous after having kids. So that was a self-imposed limitation on myself. And I don't know, God knows how many other opportunities I wasted just because I thought I cannot do this, because this is not how things work. And then the third objective is inspiring others. I mean, it's not something because I didn't even know I could climb mountains, and I didn't even know I was inspiring anybody. But I slowly started getting messages from other
Wow.
people, especially women, who thought my story was inspiring for them. Even I know me and nobody else in Pakistan thought, because 2 years ago, nobody, even Samina Beg tried to, who was from mountains, who climbed 7 peaks, who climbed 7 summits, 7 summits and Everest. She was the first
जी
one.
जी
And it took her so long to climb a peak in Pakistan. So for somebody with my background, they never even thought, ever imagined. I mean, it's getting more, mountaineering is getting more popular in the world, but in
sure
Pakistan, it was impossible. So I think, yeah, so I want to inspire people I want to decode how I did it, because I just did it, like, how you said, got sponsored without thinking, things happen. So same thing, the things happen. I didn't plan them. I didn't think about how I was doing it, but I'm sort of working on decoding. Sorry, it's a long answer, but
no no not
decoding
at all
how I did it, and then help others through my story, that they can also achieve, because people don't need empowerment, women don't need empowerment,
no
we need inspiration. So that's my third objective.
if you could have one superpower what would that be
I know that. So to take away the suffering of people. I think even I suffered from a mental illness until very recently. And I see a lot of people suffer, like it could be anything, from poverty, from mental health, I don't know, in the relationship, but everyone almost is suffering in one way or the other. One person suffering might be very less compared to another one. But if I had a magic power, I really would
wow
take away people's suffering. And I think it definitely, to do it at the large scale, it definitely needs some sort of magical powers.
which is that mountaineer who has inspired you the most in your journey
Definitely my first guide, Ali Raza Satpara, who unfortunately passed away last year.
which is your favorite vacation place
So Pakistan, North Pakistan, Gilgit-Baltistan, because again, I think I haven't been to Indian side, I've been to
okay
Nepal side and Pakistan. So I think वो जो सुकून है ना, मुझे पाकिस्तान के अलावा, I've traveled to 40 plus countries around the world. वो जो सुकून है,
wow
वो मुझे गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के पहाड़ों में आया. Nepal, maybe I'll be honest, maybe because every time I went to Nepal, it was just for climbing. And I'm
correct
sure, I guess, जो Himalayan side है ना, वो इंडिया की, I'm sure कि वो वैसी फीलिंग होगी. तो वो एक तो वो है. दूसरा, एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स आई जो भी, मतलब इस नो पाकिस्तान से कंपेयर करके नहीं, बट या
हाँ
नेपाल इज वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट प्लेसेस.
okay
और जो one of the best one also, Philippines. It was, I mean, Philippines is so beautiful, लेकिन वो थाईलैंड की तरह इतना टूरिस्टी नहीं है, तो वो उधर लोग कम है, फिर भी बहुत है, लेकिन कम compared to Thailand, but it's such a nice, such a beautiful place.
if a movie is made on your life which is that actor actress who should play your role
I really thought, this is a tough
it
question.
it can be a Bollywood or a Pakistani or a Hollywood actress, it doesn't matter.
I love Sushmita Sen, because I
Oh,
love that lady.
somewhere the personality matches. She will play your
Oh,
role very
really?
well. Somewhere she will play your role very well. I can imagine that. Yeah. So, what is your biggest fear in life?
So my biggest fear is to lose a loved one.
Oh.
It's been my biggest fear since I was very young.
The last question on this rapid fire: if scientific logic or resources are not a limitation, what is that one crazy thing which you would like to do? For example, for me, I want to climb the highest mountain on Mars. There's no way to do it. It's just purely illogical. But if there is no limits to logic or resources, then what is that one crazy thing?
I think go to space, because I'm an aerospace engineer, and I wanted to be a space
Oh,
scientist when I was growing up. So
oh.
for few reasons it didn't happen. So I will go to space, either to explore or
Awesome.
to do some scientific research.
Before going, is there any piece of advice you would like to share with the audience or
मैं अपनी एग्जांपल देती हूँ. वन से के एडवाइस है.
correct?
सेल्फ बिलीव मुझे, मतलब बचपन से अनकॉन्शियसली था. जब मैं, फॉर एग्जांपल, माय डिग्री वाज माय फर्स्ट अचीवमेंट. आई स्टडीड इन लंदन, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लंदन, एरोस्पेस इंजीनियरिंग. माँ बाप के पास पैसा नहीं था, but somehow I ended up there. My mom pushed me, and then I didn't have money, so I worked full time nights and then finance myself. और उस वक्त इतना था कि हर रोज मैं सोची थी कि नहीं हो पाएगा, but somehow I made that happen. तो that was my very very first achievement. तो वो मुझे शुरू में ही था कि मुझे अगर कुछ करना है ना, तो I know कि somehow I'll make that happen. लेकिन so वही मैं बोलूंगी कि सेल्फ बिलीव जब होना, तो आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो. कोई everything is possible as long as you आप अपने आप पे उर्दू में हम बोलते हैं एतमाद, वो
हम्म
करोगे।
हम्म
तो या सो जस्ट अगर आपका कोई ड्रीम है, जस्ट मेक इट इन अ गोल। मतलब जैसे लेट्स से एवरेस्ट था, यू मतलब हम दोनों ने ये किया, हमने उसको एक प्लान बनाया कि हमें इस ईयर में वो करना है। फाइनेंसेस इकट्ठी की, प्रेपरेशन की, जो जो प्रॉब्लम्स है सॉल्व देम वन बाय वन, वन बाय वन, वन बाय
करेक्ट।
वन। ये नहीं सोचा कि प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, ओ गॉड अब क्या करेंगे। बस सोचा कि प्रॉब्लम है, इसको सॉल्व करो, आगे हम मतलब सॉल्व होगा तो हम विल बी क्लोजर टू आवर गोल। And that's how people like us manage to achieve what we plan to achieve. And that's exactly what everybody needs to do. मतलब प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि लोग प्रॉब्लम को इतना ज्यादा फोकस कर देते हैं कि वो सोल्यूशन का मतलब वो ना तो सोल्यूशन का सोचे भी वो गोल भूल जाते हैं, वो प्रॉब्लम पे गिव अप
हाँ,
कर जाते
प्रॉब्लम
हैं।
में ही फंस जाते हैं, करेक्ट। You are a living example of what a person who believes in themselves can do. Thank you so much for your time. Whatever you said, each and every word, sentence, and thought that you shared here was beautiful, inspiring for me personally also, and I'm sure जो यहाँ पे लोगों ने सुना उनके लिए भी। And I really wish you all the best. अभी आप full intensity में full throttle के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हो, and such people, intense people, such full speed people have a beautiful presence and a beautiful aura, and I can sense that in you. You are doing wonderful, inspiring a lot of people, men and women both. Just be safe on the next 4 mountains. We'll be praying for your success and safety, and keep inspiring. And I would really love to meet you, God willing, whenever the roads cross.
Thank you so much for all you doing on your social media, on YouTube, because even I learned, like when I started, I had no idea, and I didn't personally know a lot of mountaineers. So I use your videos a lot to see, to learn. So I'm sure it's not just me, it's a lot of people that you're inspiring. And all your training, how you manage to get money for get sponsorship for your expedition, it's all very inspiring. And yeah, everybody, I'm
Thank
sure
you.
so many people will learn from you.
Means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much, and
Thank
all the very
you.
best.